Absolutely.
Do you know if this were, this were, political people or business, military related, or?
I would have to say all of the above. I really would, being that I really cannot pinpoint any specific. My educated guess would say that probably high-placed business people, military government officials, that I have no doubt.
Interesting. And you also mentioned, regarding the military, using, as you referred to, ancient techniques, that this was nothing new. The interesting idea here, I think, is do you think that the military, kind of discovered this, as you speak, these ancient techniques, stumble upon them, or do you think that they consciously were working towards, I guess, reviving them or rediscovering them?
Yeah, I think so. If you read the history of Adolf Hitler, he was deeply involved in the esoteric arts.
Yeah.
And he had his archaeological people over in the Middle East and Egypt, et cetera, et cetera. So I have no doubts about that. That things that have passed in the past, in my opinion, are more potent than the things that we have now. So if you combine the two, you can really create quite a weapon.
Interesting. Do you know if you were involved, or if you were in rather underground bases, anything like this?
Yeah. I had a gentleman who contacted me a few years ago. He was a radar specialist at the Norfolk Naval Station in Norfolk, Virginia. And he contacted me when I first started doing all this. I put my picture up on the web, and he emailed me, and we had several phone conversations, traded dozens of emails. He related some stories that happened on that base with me that I, at that time, thought they were, dreams. I knew they were memories coming back, and he confirmed it all.
Interesting. Do you know if I mean, there are stories regarding that there are connections between the U.S. or America, I guess we would say, to Europe, underground tunnels and so forth, and even transport systems going underground. Do you have any memories of these kinds of things?
No. The only thing that I know about underground bases is I know where one definitely is, because I've been on top of it. But other than that, I only know what I've read.
All right, yeah. So, do you know if you mainly, kind of, I guess, were placed at military locations, or were you kind of, because, okay, as you said, you had obviously a wife and a child on the way and so forth, so you were still, I guess, embedded, if you can use that term, in regular, normal society, and then when they chose to use you, they just pulled one of these triggers on you, I guess. Is that correct? That's correct. That's exactly what they would do. And your basic training, your main training, I guess, this were taking, I mean, when did you say you were returned at I guess between 6 and 9 years old, and then did your father pass away during this time? What did you say about that? My dad passed away before the automobile accident. Okay, yeah.
And yeah, I knew he was into something. I just didn't know what, and I never dreamed that it was with the government the way he was.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, when I found out, it really wasn't a shock.
Yeah.
And I would ask him certain things, and he would, I was younger, and he would just smile and basically say, when the time's right, you'll find out. And I would try to talk to my mom, and I got nothing.
Interesting.
My mom, bless her heart, I got, just absolutely nothing.
You know, you mentioned watching the video interview you did with Project Camelot, and you briefly got into the idea about bloodlines. I guess you have. What's your background? Celtic and Native American, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm half Irish and half Cherokee.
So, I mean, why do you think that this is? Were they looking for people with this specific combination or something? Do you know about that?
I think so. From what I've been told, the two cultures or the two races of people on the planet right now, being the Celts and the Native Americans, essentially use paranormal abilities. They believe in the spirit world, and they not only believe in it, but they teach it to their children. They don't shy away from it. They don't run from it. So I think by looking at getting those two combinations together, you can create a stronger us, is the best way I know to say it.
Interesting.
One of the other factors that I did not put together until a couple of weeks ago, actually, is I was going through some papers that I have. It seems that the majority of the people that were involved as children through these black ops that I was in were all Geminis.
Okay.
We're all born in June under the sign of Gemini.
What do you think that is?
If you believe in astrology, which, you know, for me right now is still a coin toss, Geminis are already split personalities. So even if astrology holds water to this or not, I think it could have been their own belief system.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. You know, regarding, I guess, to continue the idea of bloodlines a little bit, this is quite interesting because you said that when you saw the DNA, the image of the double helix, this in itself kind of released some of the memories, I guess. But I mean, there is a lot of, you know, connections being made between, you know, the idea of super soldiers with the idea of, you know, cloning people, genetic manipulation, and you know, DNA manipulation on the DNA level. Do you have any more information about this? Were you subjected, as you know, to anything of this nature?
I was told I was, that there was genetic manipulation involved. Mainly for me was to increase the healing process. I would heal extremely quickly, like say a gunshot wound, and this is validated. I received a gunshot wound to the leg, and I was told it would be a month before I could, you know, get off the cane, that kind of thing. I was running in 3 days. So the genetic manipulation with the healing was definitely there, and it's still there. And also with increased adrenaline in the adrenal glands, things like that. Also, I know I've had blood work done a few times over the past few years, and I'm told the same thing, that my hemoglobin count is off the charts.
Hemoglobin, and what do you any idea why that is, or how that connects with your medical condition?
Basically, from what I understand, the better physical condition you're in, long distance runners, being one, have the highest hemoglobin counts of people.
Okay.
The better your hemoglobin count, the more physically adept you can be.
Okay, is this this is the carrier of oxygen, isn't that right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I see. You know, I saw another documentary. This was quite a while ago. I can't remember the guy who did it now, but he was also the author of a book called The Men Who Stare at Goats. I think that this was the title of the documentary. Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
This is basically about, I guess it ties into somewhat what you're speaking about. This was like an official branch of the military's, psychic research, I guess, using, military people to kind of, I guess the title implies that they actually were having people trying to stop the hearts of goats simply by staring at them. I mean, was this the kind of training that you were, was into?
I don't recall going through anything like that. Let me explain it this way.
Mm.
Project Talent, I like to call it was a lot like school. Okay.
Mm.
Everyone's in elementary school. You're taught the same thing. Okay. Everybody takes the same classes, the same books, the same teachers.
Mm.
As you go up into junior high, you start branching off. In high school, you're branching off. And when you reach college level, you go to what you're best at.
Mm.
My paranormal abilities were to kind of more suited to be a soldier, not what has been termed a psychic spy.
Mm. Yeah.
I was more of the soldier than I was the sit in the dark in a room and do things with the mind.
And again, let's return to the idea of, there are many people like you were around, and I guess these programs are still continuing, and I guess they even develop them and continue in the progress. But the interesting idea here, I guess, is who is the enemy here? I mean, do you think that they just are developing these super soldiers for their kind of private use to have as their bodyguards, or do you have any idea about this?
I've wondered about that, especially what you just said specifically, someone's own private army.
Mm.
That makes a lot of sense to me. The question to be asked is, whose private army are we talking about here?
Yeah.
It's like, and I've said this before, every time I get an answer to a question, I get 10 more questions.
Yeah.
And it's just an ongoing day-to-day, find a piece of the puzzle and put it in.
Let's play with the idea, I guess, for a while, that this is part of a global syndicate, a group, whatever, who obviously have the financial means to start programs like these, and at the same time obviously integrate this with the military branches, meaning that they have contact with on government level and so forth. But I mean, do you remember? Can you tie this in any way into phases of familiar people in that sense? Let's call them elite. I mean, do you know if you were bodyguard in any at any case or something like this?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking.
Mm.
The only famous person that I can remember being close to during any of these was George Bush.
The elder, the father, or
Junior.
Junior, okay.
Junior. This was even before he was the governor of the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you brought up George Sr. George Sr. would have been head of the Central Intelligence Agency right during the heyday
mm-hmm.
of all of this. What a lot of people don't realize is that during Ronald Reagan's first administration, he was president, there was a war inside the intelligence